it's really important to not only talk about the change that we want to see, but also to address cultural beliefs that are not good for us and that are good for us, and how do we take on perception, how do we take on the values that can help us to live in a peaceful society, in a peaceful community, and be peaceful, and how do we deal with all this stress. Any more questions on our Facebook Live?
Yeah. So we've got a couple more questions. The first one is for Jonathan. In what ways can everyone make members of the LGBT community feel welcome? What are some of the examples of experiences that you've had that have made you feel welcome? And could you share these?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So acceptance is one of the themes maybe in families, and I'm privileged that my family accepted me as who I am, but I cannot say the same to the others. Acceptance is one of the it has to start from home, and that respect as well. And for a trans person, it needs that love from family for them to be able to stay within the family or the community. Some of the communities are accepted, but we cannot say the same to like Papua New Guinea, we have different contexts. So maybe in my community, maybe a trans person can be accepted, but that cannot be the same to maybe another community in another province. So once I'm in my community, I feel free, but once I'm outside of the comfort zone, that's where the stigma and discrimination, like I've never seen before, just comes. So actually live with the stigma and discrimination. It's part of me. Yeah. So yeah, acceptance is very important. Yeah.
So the next question is for everyone, although Dr. Joyce, this is probably in your field of expertise. What are some tips for how to recognize your own fear or anger in your body? How can you stop yourself from acting on a violent impulse?
Okay, things that, what are the tips that we face, that can tell us each one is different, and something that might cause me anxiety might not cause someone else anxiety. But an important thing that it makes that you can have physical response to it, you can have psychological response to it. Something is upsetting you. You're thinking about it, but it's not giving you a good feeling, and you're already upset about it. So your perception of it, that comes back to perception, as we were saying. And physical reactions could be your heart beating very fast, you're breathing very fast, something like that. Psychological, you're thinking about it, you have to do something about it. Let's look at a simple edge. Someone who's addicted to something, they're thinking about going and getting it. They have to go and get it. If they don't, it causes them so much anxiety. They're walking around, pacing around, So something like that. These are the signs that can show that you are. Tips that you can pick up, that you are, this thing is causing anxiety for you. But over a period of time, if someone has that same type of stimulus over and over, for example, we are talking about violent society in certain parts of the highlands where they normalize violence. You see very little young boys standing there with machete, and it's normal for them. They've normalized it, you see. And then we talk about what are the stress PTSD that they've suffered, and it's not just once, it's continuous PTSD. Then the issues that come about, what are the studies in place? We don't know, you see. But that's one of the things that we should watch out for. Initially, first instance of stress will cause those things, but those things will change. And over time, it can just affect your sleep, maybe your concentration, making you more impulsive, and then pushing you to take drug and alcohol, some of the things to, address the stress. And these are the wrong ways of addressing it. Okay, thank you. Anyone know?
Yeah, I was just thinking about, I agree totally with her. When some people use drug and alcohol as the cause of violence. It is the main cause of violence, but now doctor has just made it clear. It's something that is unresolved, that is there, that you just take that as an enabler to cause violence. It's a catalyst to violence. It's not really the cause to violence. So on that note, I absolutely agree with you. And if people are saying that alcohol is the cause to violence or drug is the cause to violence, then I agree with her and saying no, it is something that is deeper. It is a root cause, and when addressing violence, we need to come down to the root causes of it. What is causing men to be abusive to their women? What is causing boyfriends to be abusive to their girlfriends, or vice versa? We have seen girlfriends stab their boyfriends right under our eyes, and it made headlines, and these cases are not yet brought to court. I mean, they have not received the justice they deserve. So it's about coming down to the root causes. And I feel like we have been missing a lot of that, missing that mark in addressing gender-based violence or domestic violence or social reacquisition, any form of violence in the communities. We have been, probably some people are doing it, but I'm not aware of it. So I take that such assumption back, and I'm saying we should focus more on addressing the root causes. What is causing family disorientation? Is it the problem with the man not thinking straight? So how can we address the father of the family? Do we bring him through some kind of counseling process? Do we provide some kind of mentoring programs for fathers who are starting to become fathers, good fathers? Do we provide some kind of mechanisms where we train fathers to be good fathers, mothers to be good mothers, with an understanding that this is the path where the mother should fall in, this is the path where the father should fall in, and in that way understanding its differences and working together as a team. Most of the time we feel like women have all the rights in the world, that they can do anything. With all due respect, we feel that men have all the power in the world, masculinity in the world, that they can do everything. But how do we massage these two differences in a way that they understand that they are not competitors in the family, they are partners. They should be collaborating, not competing for space, not competing for power. So now it comes down back to really addressing the root cause of why is the husband feeling angry at the first place and shouting at his wife? What is causing it? Yeah.
Great. Any more questions? Or
I have a follow-up question from myself for Dr. Joyce. You spoke about these various signs that someone may be heading to violence, and that there is mental health services available to intervene, to show them other strategies to cope with these feelings and emotions. In Papua New Guinea, do you think seeking mental health services is something that people do as often as they should? And what do you want to see to enable more people to know about mental health services and to not have a stigma associated with seeking those services?
Thank you so much. A very important question, actually. First, in Papua New Guinea, access to mental health in terms of people seeking mental health services is very limited, because they look at mental health as the aspect of psychosis, which is only 1% of the general population, you see. So only the 1% and their families seek mental health. Also, another impediment to service availability is that it's only centered in the main hospital. So you have, I think in the whole country we have about 10 psychiatrists, and most of them are based in Port Moresby. But we have trained a lot of mental health nurses, and they are throughout the provinces in all of the general hospitals at least. What I want to see, if UN could help us to reach out, what are ways? There are already activities on the ground that we can support in terms of well-being or psychological support. What we are doing at the hospital is teaching those mental health nurses when they come. And when they go, they contact us through our mobile numbers or phone numbers or emails. We make sure that we are, accessible to them. But if they contact us, from my experience, I have not had a lot of them contacting me yet. And I want to know why, yeah. So within that, if you have programs within the district, if they have services like how do they connect to us? We are not many, but we through that service, telehealth, if you say it's not really something that's happening in Papua New Guinea, but something they can call us, they can, reach out to us, something, we can be there. Also, if there's any types, they have trainings that they conduct and you might be part of it. Somehow we can be, involved in the training, because if we cannot be there in person, at least through technology that we are there, we can talk to them about it. But how can we work with churches, which is all over the, country, and to support that in health services, in education services, we want to be there in other organizations. And I can say that one thing for sure for Papua New Guinea in terms of churches, the beliefs are very strong, and we can use that to our advantage to change the perception. And in changing the perception, we hope to change the culture. You see, the culture that we are now is what has been brought to us. We can change the perception for the culture to come. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow, what a great discussion. Thank you for questions on the Facebook live audience. And just coming back to our discussion here, I'm hearing a lot of access. The word access has been coming up more often in your conversations. Access to health, access to services, access to education, access to information that would enable a peaceful home and a peaceful community. I wanted to ask, we've been, Doctor, your question and your answer was talking about the systems and how with the mental health, there's not a lot of people that come out to you and you want to know why. And just thinking about that in itself, for Jonathan, maybe you can explain to us some of the services that you have available at World Vision, and also for Yanamlin, when someone is going through socially related violence and the services and the referral pathways, because one thing that's coming up more often is that our services, our systems that are in place in our organizations need to be strengthened. And so maybe you can share your challenges in when you are working in the field. What are some of the referral pathways that you have seen, and what else did I say? I said something about having access to the systems in place. So maybe Jonathan, you can come in.
Thank you, Lydia. So we have referral services, but we work with partners. So we work with NECAP PNG. So referral services for general health services, also STI and HIV services. So we work in partners with NECAP PNG and also the PHA, Provincial Health Authorities, clinics in all the Ibadan provinces we are working with. So the Ibadan provinces, Western Islands, Eastern Islands, Jiwaka, Enga, Morobe, Medellin, and NCD. So we have partner clinics that work in all those provinces. So we have sub-recipients in, so there are clinics there with the provincial health authorities where we refer our community members for these services only. The other services that was missing was the mental health, and I know now that we have trained nurses in the provinces and also in Port Moresby. So thank you, Dr. Jones, for that. Yeah.
Thank you. What about Yanamlin?
Hi. When we talk about socially acquisition-related violence, it's an issue where half of the population thinks it's real, the belief is real, and people really eat hearts out of someone. And we are also dealing with a population that says, no, it's not real, it's a belief that is being built upon several centuries that we have just bought into it, and now we have taken it as a fact, So I always like to say that if a lie has been told for thousands of years, it can be accepted as truth somewhere down the line. So I'm not saying that if you are believing in sorcery, you should not believe in sorcery. I understand the context of Papua New Guinea, and a lot of us come from very diverse backgrounds where the belief of sorcery has been existing for decades and decades and generations and generations. Like my supervisor always wants to say something like this: if you want to believe that fish jump out of the water and they crawl on the land, you believe that. If you think that horses come out of caves and fly, believe in whatever beliefs you want to believe in. But if your belief is driving you to cause harm to someone, it's not a belief that you might want to pass down to the next generation. So, as a Papua New Guinean, what do you think about sorcery and related violence? What do you think about the belief of sorcery? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's causing peace in our community? Do you think it's bringing families together? Do you think it's a good thing that we should be holding? So we are fighting with a kind of views from both sides, but Tribal Foundation always stands on this point, that violence is violence. It doesn't matter it's caused by sorcery, violence is violence, and murder is murder. So if someone is killed because they've been accused of sorcery, it's murder. That person needs to go to jail, police needs to do arrest and send them to jail. And that's the message of tribal. We are addressing the violence that is caused by the belief. So if you think that, like I've said, horses grow wings and fly, you do so. If you think that fish can crawl on the land, or fish can, whatever that is you want to believe in as a sorcery belief, please do. But I'm not encouraging you to take violence. We are standing strong that violence is violence, regardless of whether it's caused by sorcery belief. So that's the message of Tribal Foundation, and we stand firm and strong on this message that everyone who does murder on someone, or causes to kill someone because of the belief of sorcery or the accusation on sorcery, they must be brought to justice. They must be locked behind bars because it's murder. We have also been finding it very hard in rescuing and repatriation of victims of sorcery. Sometimes we end up going with one car, and then we see like there's a tribe that we need to rescue. So rescue and repatriation in the cases of sorcery is very hard. Most of the cases are community sanctioned, and that's very, very hard. Again, all communities stand together and they sanction the violence on this particular helpless woman, tortured, hanged on the cross, stripped naked, with hot wrought irons up their bed canal. So you tell me if this is cultural. As a Papua New Guinean, you tell me if this is cultural. That you strip women naked, that you put hot wrought irons up their bed canal, and you tell them to say they are sorcerers. It is not cultural at all. Nil cultural reference to this kind of act and behavior. It is against the law, and it is something that the government and all the stakeholders need to really, really look into this. So we have been trying to address this issue since we have started working on it. And services that are provided for such victims like this or survivors is not readily available as all the other cases of violence. So this is a call to the responsible authorities in the departments of the government that there needs to be a social policing mechanism in place where it takes into account all these things, that addresses all these issues. So that is one of the things that we are finding it hard, is getting the help that these women need, because when they come in, they are broken, totally broken down to zero, because they are tortured, they are butchered, their body is not looking good. So when they come in, they need a holistic rehabilitation of the whole human being. It's not just dealing with the mindset, it's dealing with the scars, it's dealing with the person inside, everything. It's dealing with the family as well. So is a huge issue when addressing social racism related violence. Referral pathways, when it comes to housing them, bringing them to safety, is also an issue and a concern that is in the country right now. And all the people who address this issue are facing safe houses only provide for up to 2 weeks when someone is in critical condition and needs a safe space to stay. After that, they have to look for another place again to stay. So it could be after 2 weeks or to a month. So if the victim or the survivor doesn't get the help or the legal aid that they need within that 1 month, they have to keep looking over their shoulders and find a new place to stay. So that's one of the issues that we have seen, and most of the time we end up moving a victim from one safe house to another safe house, and it's logistically it's a nightmare. And so we have come up with a project called the Village of Hope that we are building huts, bungalows, but it's a village, and we're calling it Safe Village, Castle Village of Hope, and it's going to be located. It's located in the Highlands, and we are saying that victims can stay up to 1 year. Within the 1 year, we are rehabilitating them. We are helping them cope. We are instilling skills into them so that when they go back to their community, they become valuable members of the community. We are also helping them to go through the stress counseling and get back to their feet. And they can come with their family, because most of the time the family is on the run. So they come with their family, they stay in a house, we rehabilitate them holistically. And while doing that, while they are seeking medical and legal advice and aid, we are also working with the community that has perpetrated violence on them. So in that way, the community at the end of the year, the community is the one to say, you are welcome, because they're already educated, they're already sensitized, they know the importance, knowledge of why social racism related violence is bad for the community. So that's one of kind of like a holistic approach we are taking, and we hope that the project will be up and running. Funding is also an issue, so we are taking our time to make sure that service will be accessible to people when it is ready. But right now, there needs to be a place where these kind of people, our friends, can seek help immediately. And sometimes the torture is happening in a community where it's not accessible by road, and then there should be probably a chopper going in to get with armed policemen. So it's a lot of things.
Yeah, Janine, thank you for sharing such realistic experiences with the work that you do, and for the referral pathways that we have. I think there's a call for us to strengthen our systems, a call for us in each and every one of us, our organizations, to strengthen the systems that we have to cater for different communities, different people, and also victims and survivors of gender-based violence. And I really like how you say about having this holistic development of a person, which is really important today. Without holistically changing our perceptions, without changing our beliefs and the things that we value, we don't see a peaceful community. And unless we start to change that from our mindsets, from our perspectives, from the values that we have, and to accepting, that's really important for us. And that conversation is having no excess with the challenges that we have, but also as individuals, changing as a whole. And I really like the initiatives that Yanani, you mentioned about having a whole family coming in to stay in the village. And so we've come almost to the end of our discussions. And I have one more question from
Delilah is with the Family and Sexual Violence Unit, the police. So I would like like to invite her to either ask a question of the panel or to address something to our audience. If you'd like to just pull up a chair to the end to address the issue of policing for gender-based violence.
Thank you for joining us on our panel this afternoon. For the rest of the remaining minutes, I'll just hand it over to you to share your experiences, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Diana Sandeka, Director for Family Sexual Violence Unit with the police with Papua New Guinea. With my work that I do, I oversight not only mostly but the 22 provinces and districts as well, to ensure that our women and children, even men in our 22 provinces, the 89 districts, have at least have access to police FSB service. And it's very, very, as I'm speaking, it's very challenging throughout our country, where we don't have all the essential service right here and access to. Police alone, we cannot police GBB. It needs holistic approach from everyone. All of us got to work together to support each other to reach a common goal that's peaceful home, peaceful community. So in order for we to have peaceful home, peaceful community, our mindset and approach, first of all, needs to be right. And then the rest of the things will fall in line when we have the right mindset and approach in the village, in the community, whether it's a ward or LLG or districts. All this is a place where we have a lot of the bulk of population is, so it's very, very important to work closely with each other to support, to ensure that everybody understands that why it's important to have peace. Then first and foremost in your own houses, in your family, and then out into the village, the community, ward, LLGs, into the district. So as experienced by, I think most we have already shared the challenges and what you've been doing on the ground. I would like to comment on you all for what you're doing on the ground, or in the fight, in the space of FSB. All of us are working. So from the government, police, like already said it, we cannot work on our own. We need the support. So as far as FSB is concerned, Family Sexual Violence Unit, already established in 19 provinces only. Districts, it has to go. So we're talking about sorcery and all these things. People still calling up from the country saying, oh, we are like this, we're stuck up here, where will we go and get help? I make it my business to tell them, those who have access to my number, to tell them where to go to access service for police. So police out there in the provinces, they have different challenges. In any city, they have different challenges. Though each city, we have challenges here. In policing, GBB. And out into the province and districts, it's very tough. Because some of the service, essential service that we're supposed to have access, access in the city, it's not existing. Like welfare service, counseling. When I say counseling, I mean specialized counseling services for our victims, for the children. but been traumatized after being abused over a period of time. Who doesn't want to talk to the police either? They need specialized counsel. Legal service, we don't have free legal service for the women. When it comes to properties, maintenance, custody of children, divorce, they need legal advice, support in there. And then in the city, I'm very sorry to say this, but we need to beef ourselves up, especially in the welfare service, where when it comes to the custody of children, maintenance. Because in the city right now, I raise up adultery cases. So when it comes to adultery, it boils down to the family, and family means what? Mother, father, and children. Children are innocent, they are affected, they're left in the middle, and police, we have a jurisdiction where we play our part, and the rest is played by our welfare services, our child protection office. And when we don't have them available, who plays the part? So most of the time, sometimes the police, we go beyond our jurisdiction to try to help, and then we get ourselves caught up in the situation with the law. So we have a long way to ensure that we have proper, first and foremost, services in place. The question is, we can have the services, many services in place, but if we don't change our mindset and our approach, what's going to happen to the services? Are we going to increase the service more? Or do we have to change our mindset and approach and decrease the number of services? It's very hard for the government to spread the service throughout the 22 provinces and 99 districts. So with what we can do, let's do it together.
Yes.
Not alone, together.
Yes.
To ensure all of us are working together to achieve the same goal as peace in the community, home, and province and country as a whole. So it's not easy, it's very tough. So we have to complement each other instead of criticizing each other. We have to complement each other, and when we see that there's something lacking that you're not doing, let's help if we can. So I, for one, don't like to criticize others, and I don't want others to criticize me. When you criticize me, you have to be positive. You criticize me on your left hand, and right hand you help me. Police, we are doing this. You're supposed to do this. So do you need help? I can help you with this. I'd like to hear this.
Thank you so much. Well, this brings us to the end of our discussion and our conversation.